Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. We're now 3 episodes deep into Worlds Apart, and Andy, I think we got our first clunker of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. How much of a narrative can you construct out of, Nina finally going home? Like, this is 3 episodes deep, they'd kind of burned that story, so, if you get a few of these in a row, it's cause for alarm. 1 isn't that big a deal. But I will say, beyond the lack of any kind of drama, in terms of strategy or voting, it was a little unfortunate that this is the week that everybody on the island seemed to hate each other.
I noticed a lot of, panic around the internet about this episode, as though we're now doomed to a terrible season because after 3 episodes we haven't, set some new standard for how Survivor should be played. What season was amazing after 3 episodes?
Yeah, I mean, even heroes versus villains, we had to get through, Sugar and Randy and stuff. Yeah. It just takes a little bit to rev up. I do think what's happening here, or maybe it's what I hope, is this is going to be an entirely new season, a new game, once the swap happens. And we're just kind of waiting. And the waiting is not fun.
No, we're getting some fodder out of the way, which is good. I'm actually not too disappointed at anyone that's gone home yet. The possible exception being Vince. But as we mentioned when he went home, I'm only slightly disappointed because he might have been entertaining for a few more episodes. I didn't want him to stick around for the whole season, so.
Yeah. But I do think now at 3 episodes in, it might be time to start judging the survivors on their actual merits on what we've seen on this show, as opposed to, what we invented for them in our heads in the preseason. What do you think?
I still feel like it's early to do much judging. I mean, I guess in a way, the people that we've seen a lot of, really, have you formed a more fleshed out opinion of Kelly at this point?
Who?
Exactly. So it's kind of like rating the Cavaliers now that they got LeBron back after the first 30 games and saying, oh, this is a disaster. LeBron is washed up and the Cavs suck. No, just give it time. Things will develop. Things will look very different later on than they do now.
I'm not saying that the chapters are completely written for these folks. What I'm saying is, I think we now have more to talk about them than the 90 seconds or whatever the preseason videos. Cause there's a few people whose, my opinion, I'm ready to, change, from what we thought they might be, both positive and negative on both sides. But I mean, I'm not, gonna open up the floodgates and induct 10 people into the 0% club tonight or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know that I've done a total 180 on too many people. There might be some slight changes in my opinions, but I don't think there's been who's your most drastic turnaround so far?
I'd say Mike, even Rodney. There's a few. We'll get into it, but we're starting to see either who these people really are as opposed to who they presented themselves in interviews, or possibly who they are going to be in the story. But, one person I'm not changed my mind about whatsoever is the person we should do most of our talking to start with, and that's Nina. Going into the season, we thought very little of her, and we were right, damn it.
Yeah. There's been some debate as to whether she was being unfairly treated by her tribe and whether it was somehow related to her disability or being old or whatever the issue might be, whether they were just excluding her. And I think the edit kind of showed us this week that she doesn't necessarily earn your sympathy, because I'm sure you noticed they juxtaposed her saying, I have to try harder to fit in, with a scene of her explicitly refusing to try to fit in when they offered her some lizard to eat. And she's just sitting there silent, and they're like, come on, Nina, come on, join us.
Yeah, no, Nina sucks. I understand, there's the impulse. I understand the impulse. There's very nice people on the internet that want to find her sympathetic. And some of that, yes, is because it most definitely is harder for her to integrate. I'm not going to deny that. There's also, the issues of age, which come up all the time. And there's also, I think, a subset of Survivor fans that just naturally feel bad for the underdog. the person who is being, excluded. And I don't know if it's just because, they're nicer people than I am, or if they just kind of, feel for the person that's less popular and there's some level of projection going on or something. And frankly, I think I might have used to do that in early Survivor. I'm not like that anymore. I cheer for winners now.
I'm wondering where you're still finding nice people on the internet. You must not go to the same sites I go to.
Well, I mean, some of them, they're all like, still taking up arms for Nina. It's like, what did you see about Nina? I don't care. I'm not talking about what do you bring in from your personal life or, the charity work you do or the people. It's like this person, this joyless, person who refused to partake in anything and was out there, just a total wet blanket. Why is she deserving of your sympathy? Because in a game where it's about making connections and forming alliances, and she completely opted out of doing that. And it's like, forget even just the joining in. Why are you turning down food when you're on Survivor?
Well, to be fair, it's maybe half a bite of food.
That's not nothing when you're talking about Survivor. It's not like somebody brought home or brought back to camp a half-chewed mint in their mouth. Well, something like that's real food.
It's probably about as much nutritional value as licking someone else's finger. It's, not very filling.
Yeah, and I get, even if, okay, you don't want to do it. You don't want to eat the lizard. You can be better natured about it.
It's true.
And I say this as somebody who has gone out to places many times where, say, there is alcohol being consumed and people, come on, Andy, join in and all that. I don't give them the stink face and no. I just say, hey, no, I'm good. Thanks. You guys have fun. I might even make some jokes about it because I'm just not going to do it. Nina wasn't doing any of those things. Nina was just a poor fit altogether. And I'm not blaming the other people for this. Could they have done more to include her? Yeah, but why? Why? What value is it into, changing everything you do to make somebody like Nina feel better on the island?
The one person you can probably safely blame for this? Probst, because he put her in a group with a bunch of people that she really doesn't fit in with.
Yeah, no, swap her with Shireen, and I think this is a very different season for both of them. Same time, it's like, if you're somebody who only does well in a certain subset of people, then you're not good at Survivor. And I have few sympathies for people who are on Survivor that aren't good at it, because all I care about as a TV viewer is watching people be good at Survivor. And it's like, so if you're that other group of people, besides, basic human compassion, and I want to say, I have yet to see anything that suggested they were completely lacking in empathy and compassion. They just maybe weren't going the extra mile. But why? She's not very useful in challenges. She's not getting along. She tried to vote you out last week. It's like, at some point, and Joe even still tried to reintegrate her. Try to tell her not to quit, not to give up, even though it was that was her reaction when she got back. Just whatever, you guys are gonna vote me out. It's all over. It's like,
can we talk about that, by the way?
You only have so much energy. Yeah, we will.
Okay.
But yeah, you only have so much energy as a survivor. You have less so when you're not eating. How much of that do you really want to expel to keep somebody like Nina?
Or expend, but either way. Yeah, the whole, hey guys, just make me comfortable before you vote me out routine, that is obnoxious. I really just wish one of them had said, yeah, okay, sure, sounds great, and then just walked away. Because don't invite me to your pity party. How ridiculous of a statement is that to make?
Yeah, it's just I have zero sympathy for her, and it's and you're probably the wrong person to ask, but it's just does this make me a bad person? But yeah, her passive-aggressive stuff once they came back from camp, her refusal to join in when they were going out of their way to try and include her with the lizard stuff. It's just this is clearly how she was adjusting to the high-stress level environment of Survivor. And that's on her. Sorry. People who you're competing against only have to go so far to make you feel better.
Yeah, maybe she was made for a different era of Survivor when it was a different kind of game, basically. She's not made for this era of Survivor.
That's actually a great point. I do think that her casting, her role, her type is very much an old school Survivor. And I'm not saying they screwed it up. They might not have known. But I watched her morning after video because apparently now I'm watching all the videos for a segment you can read on our blog.
Again, I get it. 2 more weeks of you doing that before you give up.
This was a tough week to get through.
I bet.
There was parts of me where I was just going to be like, not this week, guys. Not this week. You don't care. We don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah. I mean, you saw what made air, so the stuff that couldn't be good.
It's like they had enough filler in those 42 minutes. But yeah, she was like, I wanted to be, she wanted to be somebody who could be an inspiration. I don't think she used quite those words because that's a little pompous to come out and say, I want to be an inspiration. But yeah, she thought like this would be a platform or something. And it's like, that's not Survivor anymore, That was like Christy Smith back in Amazon, back when 20 million people were watching the show. You could have that type. But now, it's kind of been whittled down to big characters and game players. Because the people who watch Survivor are people who watch Survivor. And there isn't really another audience to reach. And if that was her role and that was her goal, then I don't think that works in Survivor 30. If you're going to have, somebody with a disability like that, they have to be a lot more of a positive self-starter than I think Nina is.
Funny that you mentioned that too, because there was someone on last season that wanted to use Survivor as a platform that clearly didn't grasp that it's not that show anymore.
Jacqueline?
That's
Are we
the
talking
one.
about Jacqueline? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, probably in Jacqueline's case, she hadn't watched the show since back when that might have been a thing. But it's not a thing anymore, Survivor itself is not popular enough for it to be a platform to the next thing. Very few people in Survivor can use it for anything more than Survivor fandom. And those people that do generally are like young and attractive and probably would have done well anyway.
I want to go on there and use Survivor as a platform for being an emotionless robot towards other people.
I'm going to use it as a platform of earning a little bit of scratch for my family. How about that?
There we go. And not even necessarily the million.
No, just a little bit,
Yeah. Just go ahead and assume you're not going to win, but you're going to make some money for a short period of time, a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, but no, you go on Survivor now because you want to go on Survivor. It's not anything else. And, I mean, maybe that was just Nina trying to find a few justifications, but I don't think so. I think that was like legitimately her motivation. And yeah, it's not your grandfather's Survivor anymore. It's not about kind of getting out there and forming a civilization and getting to know people. And
well, speaking of your grandfather's Survivor, by the way, you had an interesting comparison for this season with the previous season.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the Blue Collar Tribe now, and when they cast Rodney, it was clearly that they were trying to find, like, the millennial Boston Rob or something, and we resisted right away. It's like, this is not Boston Rob. Like, you don't even like Boston Rob that much, and you were like, no, not Rodney. But in the dynamic that there's been this season, it just what strikes me that maybe Rodney is like Marquesa Boston Rob, and Mike is Hunter.
And do you think it's going to shake out the same way? It's certainly, we're getting an edit that seems to indicate that it might.
It truly does. Like last week we were talking how, they might not have done an all-star version for season 30, but it seems like just a bunch of homages to the past. And yeah, this seems like the kind of traditional alpha workaholic, who would normally be the leader, was generally the leader of, seasons 1 through 3 in Survivor, against a younger guy, and the younger guy's just like, screw you, old man. I'm not doing it your way. And the tribe is on the side of the young guy.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm guessing you're going to be with me on this. How weird is it that I want to take Rodney's side?
Yeah, I'm pro Rodney in this argument too. I mean, he didn't cover himself in glory necessarily.
No, God, no.
He probably could have handled it in a far more mature way, and chill for a second, Mike.
Yeah.
Let the guy eat some breakfast. You've got nothing but time out there. It does not need to be done this very second. And for all of Mike's belly aching, that's nobody else is working. Does that camp strike you as one that's like a particular disaster?
Yeah, exactly. I think we've seen disaster camps before, and I don't think that's one of them.
No, like the fact that Rodney could say, I want to eat breakfast, well, clearly they have enough for somebody to have made breakfast by now, Like that shelter looks pretty solid, So it's like, yeah, I think I'm kind of on the side of Rodney that, Mike needs to chill out. And like, interestingly is back in Marquesa, I was not pro Boston Rob for that. I was like, this young pup, he's an idiot. They're never going to win a challenge. How do they vote out Hunter? But you think about it, and it's like, well, for one, Survivor isn't about us following this other leader. If you want to be in control and you've got the votes, then sure, turf that other guy.
Exactly.
And yeah, if they would have gotten to tribal council, I would have been like, yeah, get rid of Mike, Rodney. Just do it. I mean, people seem to like you better than liking Mike, and that does not speak well for Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That might just be a side effect of the tribe that he's on. But we're talking about we're supporting the same guy who basically pulled the, "What'd you say about my mama?" routine.
Yeah, I mean, it was so classic, but what the hell, Dan? Really? Come on.
Yeah, and again, I have to take Rodney's side, and this makes me sad. But yes, it's ridiculous that Rodney got offended at Dan's offhand comment. But on the other hand, who the hell casually just throws around, "Your mother is a whore"?
It's just so weird, It's like, forget that, it's offensive, because I don't think he was trying to be offensive. I don't think he genuinely meant it, but it's like, especially the way we saw it, and frankly, I don't think it's that, far off given the way that was taken. It was just like, that's his go-to move or something?
Yeah.
It's like, what's that? So, do you have Tourette's? I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it to you if you speak ill of Shireen, but that's understandable. I'd have cause.
Well, then cue it up, because that's gonna happen.
I'm putting it in the chamber then, because it'll come out. But, I mean, unless we saw it wildly out of context, which as you pointed out, it doesn't seem like it was that far out of context, why are you just casually tossing around that someone's mother is a whore?
Yeah, like that's your joke, and here's the thing, Dan, you're not in a good spot here, you don't get to joke like that. I don't think you and Rodney are that chummy just yet. Like, if you have an ounce of understanding about oneself, he has to know that he's at the bottom here, and he should be walking a little bit more on eggshells. And, he gave an interview suggesting that he did understand that about himself. I kind of feel like that interview came after the "your mom is a whore" moment. But it's just weird, and I think it's just like, we might be learning stuff about Dan here. That he's maybe that guy who talks his way into trouble a lot.
Yeah. I did like, though, and man, you really have to stop me. I can't keep saying nice things about Rodney or I'm just gonna feel so dirty. But his line to Mike, "Is there a C on your shirt, bro? Are you the captain?" That was awesome. Bravo.
Yeah, no, when he was saying too many things. He does that classic, Judd thing where he talks angry and uses a string of big words that he isn't quite confident that he knows what he's saying.
Right.
He's cool, calm, and collective. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, give it to him. Like, Mike does.
The captain insult was pretty good. I was impressed.
Yeah, I was. And I'm trying to figure out how I can work in my life. It's like, I'm jacked for a reason, bro. No, I kind of get why they cast a Rodney. He's not as bad as I thought he was. In many ways, he still is exactly what we thought he was.
He's pretty close to what we thought he was.
But maybe in a not so bad way, because, people are gravitating more to him than they are to others. And it helps that I think he actually has the side of righteousness on him. So yeah, there's all that friction, and you know what? Rodney wasn't the only person mouthing off at Mike. And apparently some people have a problem with it. Lindsay went after him quite a bit, and I'm interested in your take on that.
Again, feel kind of weird saying this, but Lindsay was actually making sense. And I like that she stood up for herself. She wasn't just going to take Mike's shit. She was pointing out all the work that they'd done, and just because it's not the exact work that Mike was doing doesn't mean it's not work. Although tending the fire is really a minimal amount of work, but still, it's something. Again, Mike has this very narrow view of what should be done and when it should be done and how it should be done. They're all doing things and clearly having a productive camp life, and she's calling him out on it, and I like it. I like that she didn't just sit there and take it and okay, we'll try harder, Mike. No. Throw it in his face. He's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, typically what happens is the person who goes off on a rant always about how nobody works quite like they are, I'm the hardest working, you guys all this. People just kind of roll their eyes and then talk amongst themselves when that guy's gone. But they just let it happen, because a lot of Survivor is about just not putting yourself out there, not, making waves. I kind of didn't mind that Rodney and Lindsay were both like, no, shut up, dude. Yeah. We don't need this from you. Is it fantastic survivor play that's going to lead them to the victory? Maybe not. But, yeah, I was on their side. I think Lindsay probably took it a step too far. When, she's like, where's your god now?
You think she might have crossed a little line there?
It's possible. I kind of find it funny because, I'm a heathen, but at the same time, that's something you say for the confessionals. And I want to say that I'm really digging Lindsay's confessionals. I think she is actually a pretty good narrator for that side.
She is. I don't know that she's a good player, but she's an entertaining narrator at least.
Yeah, and I don't know that she's a bad player either. I don't know either way.
Jury's still out.
There's no evidence, right? Yeah, they haven't had to play for the most part. But she certainly seems observant. She's kind of sitting back and she's got a good, I think, bead on everybody on her tribe. So I think there's a lot of people who are annoyed by her because, the young people with their face tattoos and blah, blah, blah. But
kids these days. Yeah,
go for it, Lindsay. I don't think the stars on her face are really hurting her haircutting business. I don't know about you, but a lot of hairdressers I've seen don't typically be all that straight-laced.
You don't think that's an impediment to her career success?
It's possibly not. I mean, unless you all out there on the internet just have brighter hopes for Lindsay and her career path. Maybe just, let her live a bit. Alright, so that's one tribe not getting along with each other. Let's move on to another tribe of not getting along with each other.
Was there another tribe that's not getting along with each other, Andy?
Well, actually, that might be a bit an exaggeration. It seems like there's a good number of people on the white-collar tribe that are getting along. It's just not everybody.
Is your good number 2, meaning Max and Shireen?
Was Max on this episode? Wait, he was looking for an idol, I think. Futilely looking for an idol. Look, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but Shireen is not integrating well in her tribe.
First of all, I want to say, your mother's a whore.
Great.
Secondly, I want to say, I blame that on the other people in her tribe, because why would you not like Shireen? Also, quick aside here, Tyler and Carolyn, and maybe to an extent Joaquin, were not a big fan of Shireen's monkey f***ing story. So, my wife went to the zoo, and she comes home, and she's like, honey, you are not going to believe this. I saw rhinos having sex, and proceeds to go through, 2 to 3 minutes of reenactments, of vivid descriptions of what she saw, and I was laughing and enjoying myself. So, you're not going to hear me trashing Shireen's strategy of trying to tell a funny story to her tribe mates.
No, look, when you go to the zoo and the animals go at it, that's like a highlight. Because, frankly, the zoo is just a walk outside. It's usually just animals hating their life. But I go all the time anyway, I have a season's pass. But I think at this point, there should have been enough evidence for the, keen observer of people to recognize that this ain't the place, man. These aren't the people. And, you can feel all well and good that, Shireen is well within her rights as a human to feel the way she is and try to have some fun. That ain't gonna help her if these people vote her out. And I think with 100% certainty, if they had lost this challenge, if Joe had decided not to, do it, the challenge 4-on-5, we would have been listening to a lot of Shireen exit interviews today.
I will grant you that's very possible because I don't think Max would have been willing to expend the capital to keep her.
I don't know if he has it. I think, one of the reasons why we didn't see a lot of Max is he's getting a lot of that alone time that he's so excited about. Look, we can think that Tyler and Carolyn and Joaquin are, just this humorless bunch. That's
and
fine,
they are.
But
they're the worst.
But they're the majority. Shireen is basically having the same problem that Nina has, just opposite. Whereas Nina is the wet blanket amongst a tribe that wants to have fun. Shireen's the person who wants to have fun amongst the tribe of wet blankets. But neither is going to help you stay in the game. And there should have been enough feeling about, because I don't think Tyler, especially, was being fairly subtle with how off-put he was of all things sex in the preceding days. So, yeah, it's like, be excited. Maybe pull your buddy Max over. Have a confessional. Because, yeah, again, I'm telling that story.
Yes.
It's like, you should have seen it. Like, look at what that monkey was packing.
Did you see? I took a screenshot of it. It was massive. By the way, she wasn't just telling the story. She was full on gesturing, like, as if they were playing charades and you had to guess what animal coital act she was imitating.
But, like, if this wasn't Shireen, if this wasn't somebody who you've set up to be, like, the example for your daughter, if this was Zane doing this, you
don't think I would have laughed at Zane doing this?
You would have laughed, but at the same time, you would have been like, that guy is freaking nuts, and they're gonna vote him out. And
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that, yes, it's a possibility that Shireen would have gotten voted out if it had come to that.
It concerns me about her ability to form the proper social bonds, or at the very least to read the room. And look, if it's a room of crappy people, it's a room of crappy people. But those crappy people could vote you out. But yeah, ultimately, Shireen might be in a bad spot because she doesn't fit in well with the people she's at. I think where she would fit in well is with those no-callers. I mean, obviously she couldn't be a no-caller because she's, a ranking executive in one of the biggest companies in the U.S. But you could see her out there trying to surf, right?
At least more so than Nina, and she's definitely shown a greater propensity for maybe skinny dipping in an ocean than Nina would have.
Yeah, or at the very least, like, Jen and Hallie would have wanted to hear that monkey f***ing story, right?
Jen and Hallie would have been like, oh, hang on, let me pull up a chair. I'm gonna get myself comfortable and settle in, because this is gonna be a good story.
Yeah, they'd laugh and say, tell it again. What do you think of the surfing scene?
Actually, I was sort of impressed with, and this is a very nerdy thing, but I was impressed with, like, the sort of cinematography of it. Like, they did the whole, almost like an actual surfing scene, side by side as they're hitting the admittedly very small waves going back towards the beach. It's pretty cool.
I mean, look, it's filler in an episode because they didn't have, a challenge or anything like that, but this is the sort of thing that used to happen all the time on Survivor. They used to just kind of give us glimpses of camp life that didn't necessarily fit into the who's not getting along with who's in trouble, who's searching for idols type stuff. It was just kind of like, these are the sort of things that happen when you put people out there. So in Africa you get, Frank talking to the elephants or whatever, and you get stuff like that. And, last week, Rob, had Kathy, Vavrick O'Brien on his podcast, and she was talking about how, like, that's what she finds is the biggest difference, is Survivor just used to be edited more about kind of the interacting with the landscape, the nature, and all of that. One of the reasons why I think they don't, well, for one, it's kind of what I was saying in the Nina discussion, in that the people watching now are kind of fans of the game, and they don't care about that stuff. But also, they're using the same location like 3 or 4 times in a row. It's only so much you can show of it.
Well, but you mentioned just the interacting with the scenery. It's not even that. They used to do, you remember when, I think it might have been in All Stars, like Boston Rob's tribe was doing the whole morning show routine. It was like him and Alicia and I think, Rob C was in there, and they were just all doing a fake morning show to entertain themselves. They used to show that kind of stuff fairly regularly.
Well, except for that one, I believe, was only thrown in the clip package show that they threw in. So even that didn't make the actual episode. But yeah, no, we used to just get a little more, a slice of these people just kind of getting along and doing things, getting to know them as people. And that's what that scene kind of felt like, and I didn't mind it. Especially, and it kind of felt like a bit of an oasis in the otherwise a lot of unpleasantness that was there. And also, I think shows that, yeah, there's a lot of time. You can take some time out of your day to just enjoy yourself. It doesn't all have to be about collecting, exactly. It doesn't have to be collecting firewood, Mike.
Let's talk a little more about the no-caller tribe, though, because Joe, who is the nominal leader of that tribe, is apparently not so gifted with the strategy. Unless, of course, you believe an explanation that I think you heard somewhere else.
Yeah, so we're talking about the
challenge strategy. I should be clear.
Challenge strategy, yes. About not having Nina do it. First off, yeah, let's talk about it, and then we'll share the theory that I've heard out there. That was stupid, right?
That was incredibly stupid. I don't really know what the point of it was, but I guess the idea would be that you're gonna pass the bucket over at the end and she's gonna help carry it to the finish line. But that's not really what she did. So.
Yeah. No, at first when they sent it out there, I'm like, oh, they're just maybe staggering it so they can manage handoffs through the obstacle course. But no, she pretty much just waited at the very end, and then, yeah, helped not at all while they poured most of the water on the floor. So that didn't work. Alright, so the theory that this is what Probst floated out there in his, weekly interview with Dalton Ross. And he doesn't know. I think he's just trying to piece it together like the rest of us. Is that maybe it really was about her disability, in that negotiating the barrel through all of that, bringing it back through the obstacle course required a lot of, quick burst, communications of the sort that Nina just can't do. Her implants, struggle with crosstalk, that sort of thing. So maybe the idea was, rather than have her mess it up, we'll just, take her out of the equation. And nobody has gone on record saying that because nobody wants to say, yeah, we didn't want her doing it because she's deaf. That's certainly plausible. It's still stupid.
It is.
Because here's the thing. If you think somebody's participation in the challenge is going to be such of negative value that it'll be a hindrance, maybe just wait and find out. Maybe don't preemptively make that choice. It reminds me of Ozzy deciding to throw a challenge in Cook Islands because he thinks this guy is going to make them lose challenges. It's like, you're causing the very thing you're trying to prevent.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, starring Ozzy.
So yes, Nina's might be an obstacle, but the lack of another person is as much of an obstacle as that.
I personally enjoyed Joe's I take full responsibility thing afterwards, because he takes the kind of full responsibility that results in absolutely no consequences whatsoever to him. That's a fun kind of responsibility to take.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great one. I love scenarios like that. Oh, sorry guys, my bad.
Yes.
You're not gonna do anything.
This was all on me, and so I'm just gonna, go collect my paycheck and go home.
But I gotta go now, and you guys have to stay here to clean up my mess.
Right.
It's really, seriously, guys, my bad.
Yes. Oh, I feel awful. See you later.
Yeah, this combined with last week, where they're splitting votes at the first vote when there's only 6 of them and they don't know anybody's loyalties, maybe shows a propensity to overthink things just a tad.
Well, actually, I was gonna save this for a little bit, but we're already talking about the no-callers, so I'll get into it now. I think a lot of people are assuming that Joe is the leader of that tribe, and I think they're sort of letting him believe that he's the leader of that tribe. But we got a little scene in there this week of, presumably, depending on how it was edited, because it could have been, edited out of chronological order, but it seemed like they'd already decided, okay, we're voting Nina. Jen and Haley slip off, and Jen says, you know what? We'll vote Will. I kind of feel like Jen is becoming the power player here behind the scenes. Now, obviously they end up voting Nina anyway, so maybe they change their mind later. Maybe that scene, like I said, was way out of chronological order. But in general, I just feel like Jen's not just going to follow whatever plans are suggested if she doesn't feel that they're the right way to go.
Well, I think you're trying to find the power player because that's your white-collar way of thinking, man. These are no-callers. They don't follow the rules. They break the rules. There's no leadership structure there, man. They're doing what they feel. If your point is, no, I don't think Joe is the alpha dog that everybody's following. I think he is the most useful asset on the team. Like, he is, an athlete. He does amazing at puzzles, and it sounds like he's doing the most work around camp. So certainly you can let him feel pretty good about himself, and you want to make him feel involved. But yeah, I think the decisions are all being made by each individual, and then maybe coming together as a group. And I think that 3 is probably just making decisions. I don't think there's just one person's like, that's how we're going to do it. Especially, when you look this week, the decisions were pretty simple. And then the one that Joe really had to make, he screwed up.
So you're saying it's an oligarchy, basically? That's the power structure model that we're working with?
It is, for now. And I think actually that might do well for them. I'm not writing any of these three off. I think they could do pretty well once they rid themselves of some of the dead weight, depending on how things shape up. But yeah, to your point that maybe Jen deserves a little more credit. Maybe Jen and Hallie both deserve a little credit. Yeah, sure. I mean, women always deserve more credit than they're given on this show.
A lot of people online this week, not fans of Jen. They think she's really mean, which she kind of is, and that's why I like her. But I don't know that we saw anything this week that made me think, wow, Jen is so mean. I mean, she calls Nina emotionally weak in this episode, which I guess could be considered mean, but I didn't feel like it was. I thought she was saying, Nina, we're not targeting you because you're old and weak and disabled. We're targeting you because you're an emotional wreck, which maybe isn't quite as much of a way to soften the blow as it sounded in my head, but that's why I'm bad at social interaction. Did you see anything from Jen that made you think, oh, she's so mean this week?
I mean, most of my initial rant about Nina was about that. It's like, no, Nina sucked. I'm sorry that you all feel bad for the deaf old lady, but she was worthless. Stephen Fishback in the Live Know-It-All session nailed it. She's the opposite of a triple threat. She's a triple negative. She has no social game. She's done terrible strategically. She's terrible physically. So, yeah, if Jen had lost her patience for this whiny drain on their tribe and maybe rolled her eyes the 50th time that Nina sat there and accused her of being, discriminatory toward the disabled, then I would do similar things. Now, Jen isn't given the scenes that that Hallie and Joe were given, where they, extended even more of an olive branch to Nina. I'll even grant that maybe she's not given those scenes because she's not doing it. But I don't know why that makes her just this horrible bitch that everybody still thinks she is. And it could just be that you and I's sense of humor runs a little closer to Jen than Nina's, who doesn't have one.
I was going to say, are we comparing to Zero? Is that what's happening here?
Yeah. And it's like, people, look, everybody watches this differently. It's one of the great strengths of Survivor is that there's so many different ways to watch it and to cheer for it. But yeah, it's like, they're not good people. I don't care! I don't care!
I really
as long
don't
as you're
either.
Not aggressively awful. Aggressively awful is bad, because also it's just a bad way of playing Survivor, Russell Hantz is a bad way of trying to win Survivor.
Yes.
But, that person sure seems nice. I stopped caring about that when Pascal drew like the purple rock. Like, it's such an old way of thinking. And I just don't care how nice people are and aren't. Come on. We love it when they give the confessionals where they're just burning their contestants left and right.
Oh, love
some
that.
of our very favorite people. John Cochran, Tyson, for me, Boston Rob.
Courtney.
Like, it's a
Sandra.
Sandra, and yeah, if Jen's gonna do that, again, I pointed out Lindsay could be great at that. It's like, yeah, sure. Talk about sucky people sucking, cause it's funny. If you truly would rather watch a television show of Nina's versus Jen's, then I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, then maybe this isn't the show for you. But hey, keep watching it and complaining about it. Like we did last season.
Yeah. It's one thing I'll say of all the flaws of the people last season, I think most of them are pretty nice. And that was the problem.
Yeah, it was really boring. Because they were all fairly nice.
Alright, so they had a decision such as it were. Do you vote out Nina or do you vote out Will? They ultimately chose Nina. Why do you think that Hallie voted for Will as opposed to Nina?
I think, and I know you disagree with this, I think it was just a vote split thing. Because they have so many votes, they know it's going to one of the two of them. So just as a just-in-case move, you split your votes so that if someone plays an idol, you're fine. It's not bouncing back and hitting any of the three of you.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree that that's certainly plausible. I'm saying we have no evidence for it, and at this point it's fan fiction. We don't know that that's what happened. But it certainly makes sense.
But why would they have shown that on the show? Because it would have stripped what little drama there was from the show.
Again, it very well could have happened, and as you say, it takes any amount of power on Nina's hands, that her vote will not count if you do this. So certainly that could have been it. And certainly the show could have had no motivation for doing it. What I'm saying is we have 0.0 evidence that that's what it could be. It could just as easily have been Hallie just feeling bad for Nina and not wanting to write her name down and not having to because there was enough votes anyway. We don't know. And, we shouldn't be inventing things that we aren't just saying it's possible. And so, where our discussion came up is, for fantasy scoring, it's just like, we could invent a lot of stuff. I want to hear it in the next review. I want to see a video on the website. None of those things exist. But, I don't care. It's just points in a stakes-free game.
Yeah, and I'm also saying, by the same token, show me an interview where Hallie says, I felt bad about voting for Nina, so I voted for Will. You can make the same argument in the other direction.
Yeah, but in that direction, no points are changing hands whatsoever. So it's the easier one. It's like, let's wait. I'll give points for things that we see instead of things that we think. So voting out Nina was clearly what the majority of people there were thinking of doing. Should it have been her, or should it have been the really terrible at challenges Will?
No, I'm fine with it being Nina. Either one of them is actually fine to send home. I'm more interested in the tribal council where Jeff must have just been so very excited that somehow this group, above all others, has totally embraced this no-collar label that he made up and has applied to them. And he's also just applied all these characteristics to them that he's decided that they've had. And apparently they think, oh yes, we are free spirits. That's the no-collar way of being, Jeff.
It's the no-collar ethos is the thing. I want to get a shirt. I think it's actually instructive of the way that the show's producers can really drive and direct an entire narrative and an entire way of thinking. They will call it no collar because probably in their first 3 days of interviewing, they were like, okay, no collar. Say no collar. Okay, can you say the thing you just said, but with no collar? Or, how does it feel to be a no collar? In a no collar opinion, what do you think of this? And they talk about it. This is how you get a show where, John Cochran's dad calls him Cochran instead of John. It's like, the show can do that, and then it works, and I do think, they just start thinking of themselves that way, not just in that terminology that Jeff has, created out of nowhere, but in the way of thinking that, this is the way it works, this is who we are. Whereas, you put her somewhere else, Hallie especially.
Hallie's my favorite case because she's a law student. If a communist dictator was on this show and he just also happened to be a surfer, would you be like, oh, well, he's a free spirit. He throws people in prison all the time, but boy, he loves to catch a wave.
Yeah, and I think also it was a traditional, just, 8 and 8, no theme type season. And somebody said that about her, like, oh yeah, they wouldn't use the term no collar because it's not a thing that exists.
It doesn't exist.
She's just some flighty no collar. Like, she'd take offense to that. But because the show is created this artificial bond, they pick it up. And as I guess the great philosopher once said, perception becomes reality.
Here's a fun little thing I read online today. Obviously this season, Probst is very big on calling it no collar, white collar, blue collar. You'll remember 2 seasons ago we had Brains, Brawn, Beauty tribes. They're not called necessarily by the tribal names that they were given. What did they call those tribes in Cook Islands again?
I know what we called them.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow they forgot to call them by a more common name in that season. Wonder why that is.
Getting back to it, there's people saying it should have been Will. He sucks at challenges even more than Nina. That might be true. Nina sat one out, and then she was, basically cast out of this one. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter. The best move for those 3 other people would be to vote them both out, but you don't get to do that.
Yeah, you can only go one at a time here.
So there's really probably no wrong choice, but more than challenges, you have to live at camp. Challenges are like an hour out of 72. And Nina was just a bummer, man. So Will can get along, he can integrate. And, there's the argument that he flipped his vote once, so he's untrustworthy. It's like, Nina is gonna flip.
Yes.
If she
Nina's not sticking around anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's like, Nina was at the point, with every demonstration she did, how much she set herself apart from the very beginning of the episode and throughout, that, like, you might have to start talking seriously about, like, throwing a challenge to keep her away from you in a swap or merge situation. Will might, but he might hang with you. I mean, the devil you know type deal. There's no reason for Will to necessarily believe he'd be better off with somebody other than these three, whereas Nina would absolutely be better off with anybody but those three.
Couldn't get worse, basically.
Yeah, so, no, Nina was the move. And ultimately, I think this also shows that while it was still an okay move for Will to vote out Vince because Vince wasn't good for Will, it sucked for the tribe. They would have much been better off if Nina was gone last week and then Vince was around. Like, maybe they wouldn't even have gone to tribal council.
Very possibly. So, thank you for not keeping Vince last week.
Alright. So that's pretty much it on what happened this episode, which, wow, we can really just talk, man.
Well,
There's not much happened.
Let's get to your favorite segment, though.
The 0% Club. Those of you who follow me on Twitter, or follow us on Twitter, I snuck onto the account late last night and posted some controversial statements. Then honestly, okay, I went to bed. I've had some time. This might not be the frankly, I thought it might break the podcast.
You would have heard a whole lot of bleeps right now, Andy.
Before I went to sleep last night, it's like, do I put Shireen in the 0% Club? What would that do? I had some soul searching. I was like, I just don't know. Like, it's fun when we, debate little Tyson Sierra or whatever, but, like, this is some real stuff.
I will tell you what would happen. If you put Shireen in 0% Club, I'm gonna take off my belt, I'm gonna pull down my pants, I'm gonna here. So
here's a question for you though. So we can keep this less contentious. I'm not doing it. And I'll explain why. But what would it take for you to put Shireen in 0% Club?
Okay. So if
like just going to all three tribes and dumping out their rice?
No. I have something that could actually happen. That would be like, okay, that's it. We're done. So if, we get to a tribe swap combination, whatever you want to call it, phase, and now suddenly Shireen has decided, well, gotta do what's best for Shireen. I'm going to align with Rodney. Rodney and I are gonna be best buddies. We're gonna be bros, and we're gonna bro out. We're gonna partner up with Lindsay and with Joaquin, and we're just gonna go all the way to the end. I'd be like, alright, well, it's over. It's been real, guys. Thanks. I'm gonna steer this bandwagon right off the curb.
Yeah. Everybody out!
Yep.
Everybody out! Bandwagon's broken down.
Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned the swap, because the swap is the reason why I'm not putting her in.
Thank you.
I would say that she's in a terrible position now. I'm saying that if she can make it, salvation is...
Yeah, because you just have to think back to Cagayan when Spencer was in a horrendous position. Just clearly doomed. Get to the swap, suddenly his group of three is in a power position, very temporarily, and his whole game changed.
Yeah, and he's seconds away from an immunity win that could have carried him all the way to winning the entire game. So, yeah. And there's also the thing of, like, she's been featured fairly heavily in the edit. And there's two ways to parse that. It could be it's because they're setting up the fact that she's the next boot.
Right.
But almost at this point, because it's been 2 episodes in a row of this, it's like, they might be telegraphing it too far for the next boot,
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I don't know if you'd want to suck that much drama out of it. So it's like, there might be some more for this character yet. So I'm closer to predicting that she's the next person to go than I am predicting that she has 0 chance to win. I think we need, for her, and probably for a few others, we need to see how the swap shakes out. Or the shuffles out. It would be an easier way of saying that. So that is why I'm backing down. I know some of you guys might have been pretty excited about it. Just know, I was close. Cause it's not looking good for her now. But this is the phase of the game where you need to not pay so much attention to what somebody's current circumstance is, and more what the adage and what their personalities are telling us.
And I just want to remind our listeners that if you had put her in the 0% Club, she'd be in good company because you also put Tony in the 0% Club. And how did that one turn out?
It turned out great.
For
if
Tony.
I hadn't done this, This segment would be so dull. Come on. I took a stand. I put it out there. See that guy who just got most of the edit in the first episode and won an idol? He's gonna have 0% chance. Like, that was ballsy.
It was something.
No, but that's not to say I'm not gonna put people in the 0% club. Cause, welcome to the club, Will.
What a bold move, Andy.
Yeah, I know. I know. And look, what I just said about you gotta see how people's circumstances shake out is certainly possible that Will could find himself post-truffle, a truffle. That's probably why I didn't say shuffle.
Shuffle.
Yeah. Where people, he suddenly forms himself into alliance. This is why I don't think Will could win this game. It's twofold. One, it's hard to imagine somebody who's that big a net negative making it to the merge. Like, at some point, the tribe he finds himself on, whether he makes it to the shuffle or not, is gonna lose challenges because Will is a participant in them, and they're gonna have to get rid of him unless they want to keep losing those challenges. So, that is a big drain, and then it's just like, I don't think you can win Survivor being that bad at challenges. I think people overblow how important challenges are. They're not that important. The only two-time winner in the history of the game has never won one. But, like, Sandra, if I'm going to go into a baseball term here, Sandra's VORP in challenges would be about 0.
You should at least clarify what VORP means, although I actually do know this term.
It's a value over replacement player. So if you replace them with just a regular, off the street survivor, I suppose, with me, maybe, how would they contribute to team challenges? And I'd say Sandra's a 0. She's not hurting you, and she's not contributing anything. Will is hurting you. His VORP is like -50. And at some point, like, a tribe just has to get rid of him. And he was lucky that, and like a player that can keep their head down and not be a target the way that Vince was, the way that Nina was. But eventually, even if you have plans like this guy's gonna be my GOAT, you have to cut that guy loose because you can't lose all the time and expect to do well at Survivor. And then the other thing is, how would somebody who is that net negative go in front of a jury is like, yeah, I played an awesome game of Survivor. And it's like, oh, I can always remember the times that you were sucking wind after every challenge. Like, it's just not a good look.
Right. He's going in for me too.
Any different reasons?
No, you pretty much covered all of them. It just, if he's the winner, I don't know that we're seeing some of the scenes that we've seen of Will so far.
Yeah. I guess the argument there is you can't not show scenes and challenges. It's just a functionary part of the show.
I will also go ahead, not to steal your thunder, I'll let you go again.
No, it's your turn. I just went on a soliloquy about Will.
I am now going to follow you by throwing Dan into the mix. I was a little gun-shy last week. I think I saw enough this week. Sorry, Dan. I don't think you're bouncing back from this. Like, I think this is who you are. You're a guy that's going to say stupid things. And as much as it pains me to take Rodney's side, that was a dumb move. And I don't think it would be Dan's last one, should he stick around for a while. So, Dan's out.
What's important is it was a dumb move, but it wasn't even just a move. It was just Dan being Dan. And that's why, like, he could certainly benefit from a swap and be, like, a useful vote for people. He could turn on these, the girls that have been laughing in his face and all of that. But at a certain point, Dan's gonna Dan it up, and somebody's just gonna be like, oh, no. Not this guy. Even if Dan dans him his way all the way to the jury, he's a GOAT. Like, it's just who he is, and he's not going to inspire the level of confidence that a winner has to inspire.
So who else do you got?
So I got one more. I'm ready to put Rodney in. And it's interesting, we just had all that conversation where we were like, you know what, Rodney might not, he has a point. We're on his side. I think that's all true. I think actually Rodney's done a pretty good job up until this point for what he could do. But I think the way he reacted to Mike, even if it was justified, the way he was speaking of how angered Dan made him, to Rodney's credit, he didn't actually go off there, just shows that Rodney does not have the temper or the maturity required to win Survivor.
You don't think everyone is just lining up to give the petulant child $1 million?
No. And, that's why, you were ready to put him in before the show even started.
Yep.
It's like, you didn't need anything more. It's like, no, that guy isn't gonna win. I wanted to at least wait until there was something on the episode to talk about. It is incredibly hard for a type like Rodney to win at all. It's never happened before. And Rodney ain't gonna be the first, folks.
No, he's not.
He's doing alright. This isn't necessarily a critique on how his current gameplay is operating. That's an important distinction to know about what's happening with 0%. You can do well in Survivor and never win.
Yeah, Rodney could make
Russell
Final 3.
has done really great. Yeah, Final 2. Like, he could control votes all the way. Rodney ain't never convincing a jury of people to give him the money.
Exactly. The only convincing Rodney will have to do in front of a jury will not be to get $1 million.
Like, can you imagine Rodney being, raked over the coals by the jury, which is always happening. I don't care if you've played a flawless, spotless game where everybody loved you. There's still somebody who's going to go after you because the producers basically egg them on to.
Yes.
Like Penner has gone after people he knew he was voting for and liked. He looked really awful against Denise because he wants that moment of theater.
Mm-hmm.
Is Rodney going to handle that well? Is he going to give a satisfactory answer? Or is it like, oh yes, definitely.
Spoiler, I don't think you're going to get to see it this season.
No, at some point, he is going to flare up at the wrong time and people are going to vote him out. And here's the other thing, even if somehow he keeps, his powder dry the entire time, which he has not done, he's too big a physical threat. The people are going to be afraid of him being jacked. Post-merge, even though we've gone on record saying that doesn't matter anymore, if it ever did. Rodney cannot make it through 39 days of this game.
Agreed.
He's not as awful as we thought he would be. He has 0% chance of winning. You got anybody else?
Just Alec.
Okay, good. I was worried that you were going to let him sneak.
Nope. Alec is not winning this season.
Alright. Another thing we talked about on the Twitter. See, if you really want to get the full podcast experience, you should follow us on Twitter. Even if you don't have a Twitter account, just, RSS us, check us out, at Purple Rock Pod. We are putting together something for you all that might be even more fun and exciting than this podcast.
That's a very high bar, Andy. Tell them what it is, though.
It's all marketing here. Look, it's March, and you're going to see soon, if you're not already, that almost every website you visit is going to put some kind of bracket together where they have you guys vote for different things going in head-to-head matchups until an ultimate victor is claimed, because every time you come back, that's, hits on a website. And we're no different. We are going to...
Yes, we are in that we're not profitable.
Oh yeah, we get nothing out of this, but yeah. The feeling of joy when we check out our stats. We have put together the Ultimate Survivor bracket. 64 former Survivor contestants, going head to head in an NCAA style tournament to determine who is the Ultimate Survivor.
Yeah, and, we broke up those 64 into groups of 16, and we divided them by eras of Survivor. I actually have the most recent era, which I decided to name the Leaders of the New School. And, just a quick tease. One of my matchups, we haven't released them all yet, we'll put them up shortly, but my number 1 seed is Kim from One World, and my number 16 seed is Fabio from Nicaragua, because all of you that think Fabio was a remotely good winner or that Nicaragua was a good season, he's the 16 seed because he's the worst.
Yeah, it's possible that that's just a Trojan horse we put in there for any of you who vote for him to just get blocked. If you vote for Fabio over Kim, you are dead to us. But the basic methodology, we'll go over this in the post, is to get our 64 is if you won the game you're in. We're not going to be too pissy about that. So Fabio cleared that bar just barely, and we made sure he was still a 16th seed.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. He's the only person from Nicaragua. Get out of here with this Marty and Brenda stuff.
Yes.
Now further, if you were in that Hall of Fame, you got to make it. If you've been back 3 times, you made it. And after that, the 4 of us, yourself, me, and our blog contributors, Emma and Matt, made lists and formed the last 22, and it was odd. It actually worked out the way we voted that we found exactly 22.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and I think if you look, certainly you'll let us know who you feel we left out. We're interested in that kind of discussion and debate. Frankly, we thought we were going to have more of that discussion and debate offline, but, apparently we just nailed it. 64. These are the 64 people. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think you guys will see a lot of fun matchups. My favorite matchup, I think, right now, and I made the matchups, I tried to rank people as fairly as possible, but I was also trying to create a little bit of interest within the matchups itself. And I put Danny versus Chris Daughtry, because I'm tired of everybody giving Chris Daughtry all the credit in the world for playing his underdog game and then just ignoring Danny. I feel like there's very little discernible difference between those two, and now let's let them fight it out.
You know what subset of people are going to rush in and vote for Chris in that poll, don't you?
Honestly, I'd say Chris has a good chance of winning, but I want people to be confronted with their feelings. I want them to look at that. And
You're holding a mirror to Survivor fans' faces. Is that what you're doing here?
Yeah, and I want them to look at themselves and explain what Chris did that was awesome that Danny didn't do. Because I don't think you can. And spoiler alert, I'm not voting. And then another fun matchup, just because it's somewhat current, is I like that the reigning Mr. and Mrs. Survivor are facing each other in the first round.
Yes, they are.
So that's the sort of thing you guys will see, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're just working on putting all the posts together, and I think you'll probably see, hopefully see the post starting next week. We are going to have it aligned to the NCAA tournament, so basically it'll be 2 voting periods a week. The first half of a week, we'll do, say, the round of 64, the next, the round of 32, and then the following week, you get your Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, winner. And I now know that I threw a lot of sporty terms at you guys, and maybe you guys aren't all sportos like us.
Or they're math terms. I mean...
That's right. Divide by 2 each time. Alright. Next week. What's going on? So we gotta predict what's going on. We gotta predict who's going home, because that's the next exciting feature on our website where I'm actually posting our predictions. So you need to give it a little bit of thought, John.
Yeah.
But more than just picking who's getting out, we have to kind of figure out what the structure, because we get 2 episodes next week.
Yeah, I think there was a hint, and I don't know for certain that I read it correctly, but it sounds like one of these that might actually be a medical issue, and then one will be a vote.
Yeah, like the preview certainly showed them stop a challenge and somebody's asking if there's blood. And given that there is 2, it does, I mean, you always have to worry those are just red herrings that they put in there, as though the threat of a medical evacuation is so exciting that it's going to get people to tune in.
Right.
Oh, fantastic! Next week is going to be a meaningless episode with no drama. Woo! But the fact that they cram 2 together could be, it's like, And especially if it was an injury at a challenge. Because then there's no time to recover and just say, alright, we're still doing the voting. It's too late in the episode. So that could be one reason why they're squishing it together. Another reason could be that the first vote is just another by the numbers, this is the next person, like tonight was, and they're like, oh crap, we're having 2 duds in a row. So then they squeeze in a good one with it. In fact, maybe the swap, some people are thinking. Another reason could be that the whatever actually also airs on CBS that night is taking the weeknight off. I don't know.
Well, traditionally at least, in 3 Tribe seasons, which there's only been, I think, 3 before this, usually we do a swap after the 4th person goes home. So if this season follows that pattern, after the first episode of next week, we're getting a swap.
Now the question would be is if the first one is the medical evac, maybe they don't do a swap because it's like, oh, we wanted like an extra trip to tribal council and they didn't get to burn another challenge. Although I suppose swapping doesn't affect challenges, so it would still be the team game.
Right.
Man, there's just so many variables to take into consideration while we're picking.
Grow some balls, Andy. Make your picks.
One last thing. Probst on his EW thing is like, next week's gonna be awesome. But, whatever. That's just noise at this point.
Yeah, when has Probst ever said next week is gonna suck?
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Maybe just go out with your family. But it's like, that was enough to make me think, like, maybe I should make a bold pick. But because I don't know if somebody's gotten hurt, I don't know if there's a swap or anything, I'm just going really safe, and I say Will's gone. I think, they're just gonna lose again. For one, it's hard to stop the bleeding in the 3 tribe format. When they're down to this many, the other tribes are getting rewards and immunities. You're getting no rewards. You probably, had underlying flaws to begin with, so it's often that you keep losing in this scenario. And I think they lose one more time and send Will home. And then I just went with Kelly because I'm thinking that this could be the explanation of why somebody who otherwise seems pretty decent in her online footage, she seems alright, is like a complete non-entity, is either she's the medical evac, or a swap happens and she just, like, is poorly swapped. She's the only person on that tribe or something like that.
Damn, because those were going to be my exact picks. I actually thought
Thanks for letting me go first.
I thought Kelly would be the evac for precisely the same reasons you did, because that would explain why they haven't given her any sort of development whatsoever. And then Will is the easy pick for getting booted off. So I'm going to stick with Kelly as my medical evac, and to get booted, let's go with, I'll say Lindsay. I'll go out on a limb.
Alright, so those are our picks. I'll be posting them on our website, probably early next week, along with the new feature we're doing, letting you guys vote. Listeners, let us know who you think's going home, and see if you're better at making predictions than we are.
Hey, they got it right this week.
That's right. We so far after 3 weeks, John and I are both 0 for 3. And after 1 week, our listeners are 1 for 1. The majority of you picked Nina, and you were right. So, see if you can beat us at our own game. But, probably not. You're probably going to want to pick Will and Kelly too. I will say, this is another area where I came dangerously close to picking Shireen. And that's the thing, like, if I really thought the Probst was telling us the truth, that it's going to be somebody bigger named, then I would have, maybe it was a Shireen. But at the same time, I feel like if he's telling the truth, maybe this is when she turns it around. I don't know. But you're on thin ice, that's all I'm saying. John's driving the bandwagon, I'm the skeptic, I suppose.
And your mother's a whore, Andy.
And with that, I want to remind you that you can follow us on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod. You can send us emails, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com, or that blog I keep talking about is located at purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com. Anything else, John?
That's all. And if you want to see me get angry on Twitter, just send something about Shireen to @PurpleRockPod.
Theme music.
That's what it's like when a woman wants a baby.